entrepreneur who is passionate about changing the way people view disabilities. This passion came after a fateful night in 1997 in which Eric suffered a spinal cord injury that paralyzed him from the neck down. Throughout his journey, Eric uses his experience to empower resilience and inspire change for people with barriers. In addition to serving the community as a public speaker, both motivationally and at the House and Senate hearings, Eric sits on several state boards as a voice for people with barriers, is a self-advocate for self-determination living, a hip-hop artist, a D-Man ambassador, and is the founder of Inspire Brand Clothing. Eric is the proud owner of Easy Awareness by Design, a business specializing in graphic design for custom apparel, signs, and banners, which offers on-the-job experience of people of all abilities. And now, here is Eric.
We live?
We're live.
Awesome. Good morning. Welcome to the Self-Determination Conference. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, thank you. I am broadcasting live here at the Disability Network in Flint, Michigan. The best thing about this day is where I'm at. This is where everything started for me. This was where, when I got out of rehab, I met my teacher. And actually, if everybody would, Mr. Mike Zelli, he passed away maybe like a month ago. Just to take a moment of silence, because he was a strong advocate, not for here, but for the whole world. So please take a moment of silence. Thank you, thank you. So as I was saying, my journey started here. I remember coming to the Disability Network and Mr. Zelli saying, you'll be able to accomplish whatever you want. You may not believe it now, but you just got to get involved. And I believed him. Then I said, okay, I didn't know what that meant. Get involved, but I was soon to find out. The other thing is, we talked about self-determination, where he said, look, we're gonna set up a person-centered plan. You're gonna be able to have the control to hire your own people to take care of you. You're going to direct the care. You're going to say who works for you, how it's going to be. It was my control, my lead. And I said, oh, all right, I'm good with that. I'm ready. After that, I hired my first person Memorial Day, and she actually still works for me. So now we're going on 24 years that she's been working for me. Learning about self-determination, it's not an overnight process. This is a transitional process. This is a life, every day learning. At this time, I started learning about person-centered planning and acting fiduciary and independent facilitator and individualized budget, principles of self-determination. I didn't know any of that stuff meant at first, but soon I was taught and learned it as I lived my life. I learned how to put out advertisements looking for staff to take care of me and what I was looking for. I learned how to do interviews and timesheets. I basically was a business. I became a business owner of my life. With those supports, I was able to live a great life. I was living with my mom and stepdad at the time. And then I was able to transition into my own apartment where I was able to hire more staff to be able to take care of me independently. Throughout my journey, I've tried so many ventures. I tried to own a record company. I wrote for an entertainment newspaper. I typed by my voice using Dragon Naturally Speaking. I also did mentoring for the state of Michigan through Michigan Quality Consumer Care Council. I owned an internet radio station. And then now I currently own my business since 2011, Easy Awareness by Design, which none of this would be possible without the supports that I receive. I was able right here at the Disability Network to get a bill passed. Congressman Dale Kildee and Mike Zelli and Dave and I met at the Disability Network. In fact, the power turned off, or there was a power outage, so we met right in the foyer to talk to Congressman Dale Kildee about the importance of self-determination, people not living in nursing homes and living independently. He took that information and put together a bill called Money Follows the Person. That bill passed, and it brought billions of dollars to the country to help people get out of nursing homes and live independently and have a great quality of life. There are other things that I've accomplished here at the network. This is like my home turf. This is where I did long-term care, learned about ADA advocacy, worked with many, many people in politics to be able to testify that self-determination works when you listen and follow how to put it together. Soon, I would be learning about community mental health because I didn't understand it yet. And then I would meet Mr. Russell, the CEO of Community Mental Health, which is now Genesee Health Systems. I would also meet Melissa through TTI, my provider agency, and then Lori Owens, my self-determination coordinator. Wow, it was an amazing journey. When I started to meet Lori and I worked together on self-determination. We had an amazing relationship. We were building our relationship. And then Michigan Partners for Freedom came about. And that's Michigan Partners for Freedom is a grassroots coalition of people with disabilities, family members, advocates, organizations, and other allies working together to build a statewide demand for self-determination. And that's where I met Pat and Angela. They are awesome. We are still friends today and talk all the time. With Michigan Partners for Freedom, we learned about self-determination. We studied, we trained, we had conferences, we had actionable steps. We went to the transition centers, we went to the ISDs, we introduced the Owning Your Process video that we shot or filmed to the film festival circuit. Together we were building this statewide demand for self-determination. Through Michigan Partners for Freedom, we had conferences every year. We even had a self-determination international conference where we would learn what the rest of the world was doing with self-determination. We were building relationships with the whole world. Michigan was on top of self-determination. We were boots on ground with Michigan Partners for Freedom. Also, something symbolic at the Detroit Ren Center, where we had the Self-Determination International Conference. We buried and burned and lit up the R word. That night, We vowed not to ever use the R word again. We lit it on fire and put it to rest. That was an emotional night because there were people that were really affected and hurt, scarred by the R word, institutionalized, oppressed. We also promoted self-determination with roommate mixers, business-to-business expos, different events that were in town. We would set up booths, pass out brochures. We continued for 10 years to get the demand of self-determination. After 10 years, the grant ran out. Right before that, I was able to start my business called Easy Awareness by Design. I was using the supports word supportive employment. I contracted with Goodwill to start my business, and they got me a job coach, which would help me every day run my business for me. And I remember at first I only had a few, maybe was approved 15 hours. And I was like, I'm running a business. How am I gonna run a business with 15 hours? And I remember I said, you know what? I'm gonna talk to the CEO of Genesee Health Systems. And I had a meeting with Mr. Russell. And I asked him, I said, can you run a business with just 15 hours? He was like, no. How am I expected to run my business? And that changed everything, because soon, when we did my reevaluation, I received my 40 hours to run my business, which was amazing. That was a huge accomplishment. And it was all because the relationship and the understanding of how those supports helped my quality of life. I started as I was working, and then Michigan Partners for Freedom was not around as much anymore because of the grant was over. I felt like self-determination was falling. It was being more, I guess, invisible. I didn't see it as strong as it was. And I don't know what happened. We went all over the state of Michigan. We told people what to do. We gave them pamphlets. It's almost like some people just didn't listen. Because we weren't out there anymore going for the state demand for self-determination. And then the pandemic happened. And then the lockdowns happened. And it was, where was everybody? How could we reach out to people? I spent my time on the first part of the lockdowns contacting people to see if they're still receiving services. Are they still alive? What have they heard? Have they been able to get hold of their caseworkers? It was kind of like this 2-year pause where things changed. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out, and I was trying to help, but only being able to help virtually instead of being there in person. And that's, where we are today. I mean, we're out of lockdown. We're still virtual. We were going to be live, but here we are virtual. And I'm hoping after this conference that self-determination is going to be #1 in the state of Michigan. That's my hope. If you could give me 1 second, will you grab that paper from me? My papers are falling off. Grab that one for me. Nope, take that one away. Nope, take that one away. No, the other one. This one right here, I don't need. Right, I need that one too.
These two?
Yep. Nope, move. There we go. So, sorry about that, but that's all I gotta do it. You're not able to move from the neck down, you gotta have other people to be able to do things for you. That's the supports. A support system, my circle of supports. One of the things that with self-determination, we learn over and over, the 5 principles of self-determination: freedom, authority, support, responsibility, and confirmation, and also paying attention to your budget. Over and over, we were tested on these. And I'm sure that somebody will tell you more in some of the workshops, so I don't want to get technical now. I just want to share my journey with my emotions and how I felt. I felt like I was a person, and I felt like I had value. And I felt like I belonged. But then when people don't listen, I don't feel it. I feel left out. I feel invisible. I feel like, will it ever get better? So, you might ask, why am I excited about self-determination? Which I am. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about this. It's just, my breath is, my diaphragm is paralyzed, so I'm not jumping up and down, but inside me, I'm glowing. So, in case you don't know, I'm excited to talk about self-determination. There's a lot of things. You know, not long ago, in the end of 1800, all the way to 1974, can someone grab this paper for me? Anybody? Just slide it over. Thanks. Okay. Over a little more, just in case. Yeah, so, okay, thanks. There were laws. One of them I wanted to talk to you about was called the Ugly Law. Ugly Law made it difficult for people with disabilities. This was between 1887 and 1974. These laws targeted poor people and people with disabilities. They deemed it illegal for any person who is diseased, maimed, mutilated, deformed in any way, so that it is to be seen unsightly or disgusting object, to expose himself or herself to public view. We were considered a street obstruction, a nuisance. People with disabilities, if they were seen in public, could be fined up to $1 to $50. And if they couldn't pay their fine, they could go to jail, which they call the poorhouse, which was like an institution. To think about that, 1974, not far away, that people with disabilities could get fined for being seen in public. That's just, how does that value a person's life. How does a person succeed and grow? But not too long ago, they were devalued, unworthy, and not even wanting to be seen in public. Or they fine you. They treated disability like a crime for many, many years. The good thing is that the Rehabilitation Act came out that started to stop the ugly laws. But it wasn't until the ADA passed in 1990, 32 years ago, that made sure that the ugly laws would not be able to come back. That's one of the things. I gotta do a weight shift, sorry. You got that paper for me? In just a second. Weight shift and muscle spasm. The other thing, sub-minimum wage. It's still legal in this country to pay a person with a disability under minimum wage with a certificate based on performance. We're talking about self-determination. So we got a lot of things that are going against us. How do you grow financially when you have some minimum wage saying that you're not able to perform this task more than this person can, so we can pay you less value, less of a human? That's why self-determination is so important. And it's not a me thing, it's everyone. The other thing, we also have a $2,000 asset cap. So if you want to work, you have to limit your hours or limit the amount of money, because if you make over $2,000 or have $2,000 in your bank account, you lose your services. Those are all things that put barriers for growth and for just a human right. That's why I'm so excited to talk about self-determination. The other thing, which is really scary, while I was doing research and homework, I was on Twitter, and someone tweeted me about a bill that passed in 2016 in Canada called MAID. It's an acronym, MAID, Medical Assisted in Death. Gives the access to euthanize people with disabilities by choice, if they choose to. I didn't believe it at first, until we had a conversation, a dialogue on Twitter, and someone tweeted me, and they were paralyzed from the waist down. And this person signed up to die because, as she said, I'm alive, but it's the lack of supports that's allowing me to live. She's saying it will be easier to die than to live without the supports. Because, as she said, she's gonna die anyways, with no supports. And that's care, and that's housing, and work, and transportation, it goes on. And this is in Canada. And starting in March 2023, mental illness is also there. That's another person is added. Right now, a person with a mental illness cannot sign up for MAID, but in 2023 of March, they can. So that a person with mental illness can make that decision to die or have a nurse practitioner come to the house and do it. They do it by injection, or you can take a pill. That's scary. And it's all because it's a lack of supports, which is what we're here talking about. Self-determination, supports. We're not far from Canada. That could easily come here. And just think of people and all the accomplishments that they've made because they had supports. That if they weren't there or didn't know about them, they would have just killed them, just died. Decided that life can just end. That's why I'm so excited to be here to talk about self-determination. Because these are real barriers. These are life challenges, life barriers. The lack of supports stops you from living. I'm not saying alive, but living life. A great quality of life. With you having the control of your life, and the say of your life, and the voice of your life, and the direction of your life. The other thing that I'm excited about self-determination, voting for people with disabilities. I have had my share of not being able to vote, private and independently. I have went through the city clerk, civil rights, Disability Rights Michigan, which was MPAS before, to be able to vote private and independent using assistive technology that's at my polling location. It took 7 years at the location that I was at to finally, after MPAS got involved, to get the sip and puff headset for me to vote private and independently. And then I voted 3 times after that. And then I voted online when the pandemic, the lockdown. And then just recently, I tried to vote in person at the polling location. The machine, which is called the VAT machine, which is for everyone, but it has a component that I can plug the sip and puff headset in, which they have at the polling location, was not even out of the case. It was still locked up with a big wheelchair logo on it. This was 4:30 in the afternoon. All of those machines are supposed to be up and running by 7 a.m., inspected, tested, ready to go. They were looking for the piece to my headset, but then they didn't even have the machine set up. I was feeling all types of emotions. I wanted to just drive knock over everything, but I just stayed calm and quiet. And then all they could say, the poll workers, was, we're sorry, well, we promised to have it in November. Here it is, exercising my right, my voice, my vote to who I want to hire for this city or this state. They're saying that I'm not able to, that they're just sorry, that it's okay. Like, once again, I just felt devalued. Like, not a human, doesn't matter, who am I? And if they're doing it to me, they're doing it to other people. And that's ongoing right now. So these are just some of the things that we go through day by day. We go through accessibility. The ADA passed 32 years ago. I didn't hear much about the day, the actual day. The Disability Network had a celebration Friday before, but the actual day, I remember, I was excited. I thought you turn on the TV, everybody was gonna celebrate people with disabilities independence. Because the whole year, every other person was celebrated every week, every month. I turned on GMA, nothing. I said, okay, I know Google's gotta have something on their search bar. They're always participating in everything. Nothing. Nothing at all. A steel drum. No celebration of ADA. Nothing. It was silent. Even the social media and the internet was silent. Here we are. This is our biggest day. This is our Independence Day. People say happy birthday. They say happy 4th of July, happy Valentine's Day, happy Dog Week, happy Cupcake Day. But here it is, ADA Day. Our independence, our day where this country stopped and recognized that we were human, that we were people, that we were going to be able to be free, and that legislative, that we're gonna make sure things were accessible, education, representation, working, that you couldn't discriminate against people with disabilities. And there was nothing. I searched. I even did my own TikTok celebrating. There was nothing. So when we talk about self-determination, that's why I'm excited for it. Because there was so much history, and it still is. There's still people right now that feel unworthy and devalued. So what do we do? Well, that's the good thing, because we have now a self-determination technical document. It's the blueprint. It is the instruction manual. It is what you need to follow, all about self-determination. And if you don't have it, it's available on my website. So not right now, but afterwards, if you go to inspireshirt.com, and click on the mission statement, the very first paragraph, you can click on that and there's a PDF version downloadable of the self-determination technical document. And also, if you receive CMH services, you are bound by contract to be eligible to self-direct your services. So those are the main two things of a call to action. Oh. Okay. So that's what I'm hoping, that this is it. I mean, the document's there. There's really nothing more to really, the call of action is the document. You have to follow the document because everything is there. People work really hard to putting that together. Actually, and I might have forgot, I meant to mention Pat and Angela, which is who I met through Michigan Partners for Freedom. They're advocate for self-determination, strong warriors. So the other thing is, I would hope after this conference, not just this, that people will study self-determination, that they'll be fired up, ready to make Michigan #1 again. Not just for the country. Let's show the world. Let's show the world that we care. We value people with disabilities. And I know there's new people, they haven't received all the training, but this document, read it, get new training, talk to people that do know. Make sure, communicate from county to county. What can you do to make sure that people are self-determined, that they have the supports that are available, so that they feel alive and living. That's my hope. That's my hope. I gotta recline back. I'm losing my breath right now, so. You grab these papers out of here for me. Give me a drink, please. Over here. Yeah, thanks. So I hope that people, I was able to share my journey. It's been incredible, 24 years. But it never would have been able to be accomplished without the supports that I had, without the person-centered planning and the active fiduciary disability network, and the independent facilitation. And also, through person-centered planning, I've been able to transition to an apartment, to a house. I was able to purchase 3 vans, 3 wheelchair accessible vans, because we took that plan and just focused on okay, we need to get Eric a van, a wheelchair accessible van. That's, there's so many stories. There's so many stories, you know, and great leaders. Mr. Zelli, I was always able to go back to him and just refresh and relearn. I really hope that people receive a lot of information from this conference. I really hope that we can put self-determination back into first place. I mean, Michigan is pioneers, they're trendsetters, they're resilient. They got Motown, they're one of the best music. The auto industry, sports, athletes, actors, astronauts. I mean, we are the state that shows the rest of the country how to do things and do things right when we do it right. I would like to see that. I would like to see something similar to Michigan Partners for Freedom again. You know, organized. And I can help you with that because it's already laid out. I would like to see people getting involved in their counties, doing action, going to transition centers. Similar things that we did in the past. Also, if we have to utilize virtual or make it a hybrid, that's good too. These are just some of the things. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm trying to get my breath. It's really important to me. Yeah, we can do Q&A too, right? Are we opening it up? Anybody? How do you do Q&A?
Looks like there's some chats in the chat box, maybe.
Oh, there is?
Eric, did you say you wanted to take some Q&A?
I can do that. Can they be
Okay.
verbal?
Audience, if you have any questions or comments for Eric, if you would like to add those in the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen or the chat screen.
You'll be able to read them?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
It's here. Thank you for your inspiration.
You're welcome. Thanks for the comment. I left 15 minutes open for Q&A.
Other than very positive comments, I'm not seeing any specific questions. Oh, let me see. Here's a couple now coming in.
Okay.
How many Michiganders fall under the ADA or receive services from ADA?
That's a good question. I only know what my county based on the census. At one time there was like 90,000 people with disabilities. But that was like county-wise. State-wise, that's tough to say, but I'm sure that we can get that information We got the information before, like that information from the census. What is it, 1 out of 4 people have a disability? So,
Can you share a few benefits that you've seen about living on your own home, in your own home versus in an adult foster care home or nursing home?
I'm alive. I'm here, this is 24 years. I'm alive and I feel alive and I have life. I have direction, I am in control, everything is self-directed. I'm the coordinator, I'm the person that says, this is what I want, this is how it's gonna be. Happy, you know, full of life and happiness. Oof. Mentally happy, you know, institutionalized would be awful. I'm able to have my business. I'm able to work on my business when I need to work on my business. I'm able to eat food that I want to eat when I want to eat it. You know, what it is, I'm able to visit people. I'm able to have people come over. I'm able to have, people want to come visit. And they don't feel like it's a medical facility. And someone's not telling them what to do or telling me what to do. I'm hiring my supports. And I have a document that says this is how my life is run. This is my direction. These are my goals, these are my dreams. I don't see any of that happening, not living independently.
Eric, thanking you for your presentation, of course. Do you have any advice on how to truly individualize services and true implementation of person-centered planning? We often hear things like, we don't do that here, or we've never done this before. It's very confusing and intimidating.
The self-determination technical document, that right there, that's your instruction manual. That's your go-to, that tells you exactly how to do it. Like after this conference, when people are doing these intake forms, then I looked at them because I talked to other people in other counties. If they said, oh, would you like to learn about self-determination? The person's like, I don't even know what self-determination, they don't even know what it is yet. Then they go, well, you want me to check the box? Yes, or check the box, no. Then they might say, yeah, and then they check the box and they're like, what do I do now? People have to be trained and informed before they even ask the question for a person that's receiving supports. Would you like to know about self-determination? That person that's asking that question, they need to know what self-determination is. They need to know exactly how, if that person says yes, how they can get that person excited but not confused and not overwhelmed, because it can be overwhelming too. Being able to transition with being able to teach self-determination without having a person be scared. So you want them to know about it, but not have them have fear about it. That's the main thing. And the person that's asking should be trained. They should know. They should be excited. They should be wanting to tell. I got the good news. But they should be really hyped up, ready to want to have the person that they are receiving supports for know about self-determination and get self-determined.
Thank you, Eric. Here's another question, talking about the staff that you have hired
Yes.
to support you 24/7. How are you finding the staff that you're hiring? It's very challenging right now for people to find staff to support at this level.
That's a good question. I have used Indeed. The Disability Network has used Indeed, Facebook, or social media. They have different job posting that you can put on there. Word of mouth, asking someone, you know someone, contacting like colleges like Ross or Mott, or physical therapy companies. You know, it's a collective amount to do, to find. You still might not be able to find. That's the thing. The other thing too, part two, once you do find someone, which we've been able to do now here, is fast that process. Before, when you found someone, they had to have first aid, CPR, bloodborne pathogens, recipient rights. They'd sign up for recipient rights. They weren't able to get recipient rights till like almost 30 days sometimes, because it was only available through Genesee Health Systems in my county at certain times. And by the time I was able to actually fully hire the person when they were qualified with their trainings or their certificates, they already were on a different job. You know, when they come in, they're filling out the application. They come here at the Disability Network, which is my active fiduciary. They fill out the app. They're expecting to know an answer. Are they going to get the job? So that's actually been something that we worked really hard at with Mr. Russell here to fast track, I guess you would say. So now when they hire in, they put on there that they're scheduled to do recipient right. Well, it's all video now, but I think now they just need TB tests. I think that's, and then they schedule for first aid, CPR, and things like that. That was a big holdup. That was a big challenge. I lost a lot of potential caregivers based on the process that it took to get them hired and qualified to be able to start work. So.
Perfect, thank you. Could you expand more on the $2,000 asset limit to Medicaid and how to start a business with those guidelines? Did you have to put a limit on the profits initially?
Yeah, you don't take from your business. You use your business at the expenses that you can use it at, and then you open up a MyAble account, it's called an Able account. So that's the other thing. So I open up a MyAble account. That's where you're able to put funds that don't go against your services. I think you could put $15,000 in there a year, if I remember. So no, there's all these different things that you have to do. Instead of saying, Eric, you got a business, work, freedom, go work as many hours, take home from the business, don't worry about it affecting your services, because we gave you a 6 months or a 9 month period of time to see if you're going to even need certain services at that time. If at that time happened, instead of taking it away, it should just go on pause, like on hold. Case is still open, it's just that certain service I don't need because I'm financially sustainable for it. And then see another 6 months how I'm doing. It's gotta be like a transition process. Instead of just, nope, take it away, and that's it. And then you have to start all over and open up your case again. So that's why people are scared to work. They go to their employer, they say, I wanna work, but I can only work 20 hours because I'm not able to make so much money a month, or I'll lose my services. But a lot of times it's medical too, or they're SSI. So these are all things, these are barriers that are holding us back. This is one big one, huge, that is holding back. So yeah, that question, it's hard. It's hard. You have to actually figure out ways to walk, move on eggshells. And then you can also get a special needs trust. But why should I have to do any of that? Why can I not just have a business or work for someone and work the 40 hours and make the money and put it in my bank and not worry about being penalized. Because that's what it is. You're penalized for trying to be better, for making a better life for yourself, for trying to, I mean, how do you save for a house? How do you save for a family? On $2,000. It just doesn't work. So you have to figure out all these different ways. My able special needs trust, that's why Medicaid laws, they need to be changed. I just had a meeting about it yesterday with the senator, and we are going to work on that. Because that's been something I have tried to figure out since I've been out of rehab. That was one of my first questions. How do I become self-sustainable? And so those things have to change legislatively. And that's something we're definitely going to work on next year, like the start of 2023, so that people are not scared to work. It's all business, and they're just scared. They're scared of losing their services. So it's a huge barrier on employment and growth. It's better just to stay home and not work and still receive the supports and the finances or the financial to support you. Yeah.
Thank you. At one time we had heard there was interest in making a movie about your life. Can you give us an update on that?
I've been through it a few times. There's a lot of footage, but there has not been something where the editor is putting things together. Even when the pandemic was going on, I had a couple film producers contact me, and we went through footage on Zoom. I would share my screen, they took notes, and then it just didn't go anywhere. So my thing is, this might not have been the right timing yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was a film, well, I don't know what you want to call it, a short film made by Michigan Partners for Freedom called Owning the Process, and that talks about individualized budgeting, and that's on the internet, and that's on YouTube, and that was entered into the film festival circuit.
What advice would you give someone starting off with self-determination?
It's going to be the best decision of your life. It's going to change your life. And don't be scared. I mean, it's natural to be scared. But if you have the right people that understand the process and how it works, then they're going to be your supports. With the right supports, the right education, the right training, their life's going to change. It's going to be happy. They're going to be able to do a lot of things that they never thought was possible. That's why and self-determination of a person is first going, they're going to love it. They're going to love it, and don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen overnight, because this is a process. This is an everyday learning process. It's a life-learned process. It's planning. Make sure you plan. Make sure you work with your self-determination coordinator. Like I said, when the people are introducing it, they should be really strong and ready to introduce it, to be able to work with that person. They almost like mentors, that they support. I mean, the main goal is to empower the person and let them grow into the best quality of life that is possible.
Another question we have here, Eric, a two-part sort of. How do we get families excited about self-determination? And then we had interesting insight to that question from a peer mentor. He said, I'm a peer mentor, and the biggest barrier of getting families excited about self-determination is that they have to unlearn the disability stigma that has followed the disabled person since birth. If we can get families to look at their disabled family members as a person, they need to be actively become aware of the bias of their own viewpoint and also the views of their peers. Once you can get them to see them as a person with the same rights as everyone else and themselves, they start to see the potential.
Great question, and it comes from a peer mentor. Right there, that's your answer.
Yeah.
Bringing in peer mentors to be able to talk to the family because they are already living it. So when they're able to live it and show the family that it works, that you have concerns, and we know that there's concerns, because maybe when they started out too, their family had these concerns. It's the peer mentoring, it's the mentoring. And that's the thing too, that would be another thing for actionable steps in each county, making sure that we have a strong peer mentoring for self-determination. Because the peer mentors are the ones that are gonna go to a person-centered plan and be there side by side with that person to support that person that might be having the very first person-centered plan. And to be able to ease the worry or the fear. Well, not just the person, but the family. Because I understand. Because I have lots of person-centered plans, and people, even though you invite your circle of supports, sometimes people want to try to direct your life. They think what's best for you instead of listening to you. And that's a whole process, and everybody learn. You learn by doing it and going through it. But yeah, it's the mentoring. That's the answer. The mentoring. The peer mentoring is going to stop that. And it's going to stop the stigmata. It's going to ease whatever their assumptions are about self-determination or a person with a disability. Because they're showing you how it works, that it does work. And they're sharing their journey. Just like today, that's what the mentor's gonna do, too. They have stories, and they can share their stories. And hopefully that will empower everyone to move forward.
Eric, are peer mentors employed by community mental health, or are they independently contracted?
When we were doing it, we were getting stipends from Michigan Partners for Freedom. So wherever that budget came from, that's how we were getting it. I'm trying to think of Genesee County. I'm not sure if they have a peer mentoring program yet, but they will. And I actually did have this, it's a good thing you just said that, because I did have this conversation.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Eric. We did have a comment that mostly the peer mentors are usually employed by CMH.
Okay. That's good to know, because I'll let them know. But like I said, with Michigan Partners for Freedom, we are receiving stipends from Michigan Partners for Freedom. As we turn that information in, when we did peer mentoring or actions, like passing out brochures or speaking at transition centers, things like that, we just logged in what we did in our time. I did just have a conversation about subcontracting or independent contracting. So I haven't heard the answers yet, but I'm sure Genesee County is going to be a strong peer mentoring team that's ready to roll after they see this presentation.
Eric, you addressed this last question, but they're asking about where did you find the most success in finding staff? And I know you said Indeed, but you also mentioned another website I don't recall.
Social media.
Just social media?
Yeah, Facebook, but word of mouth too.
Perfect.
And you have Genesee Health Systems, they have this place where you can post You can put like a flyer that says you're looking for someone. You can talk to agencies, you can talk to physical therapy, occupational companies. You can talk to the schools. You can also find, like, when they do health conferences, maybe show up to like a health conference where they have the booths and things like that. It's not a one-time ad, it's not just a one. The many places that you can put your ad on what you're looking for, the better. Because it's difficult to find.
Yeah.
But Indeed, with Disability Network, when they have put my job posting up on Indeed, that got the most traction.
And someone else had also mentioned on here, care.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, we have a few people that have asked for your website, so I have dropped that in the chat for everybody. And we have, Eric, ran out of time today. I want to thank you very much for being such a strong advocate for Michigan. And we'll look forward to seeing how your case is going with the election and what you have in store for us next. So thank you very much. And attendees, we look forward to seeing you at 10:30 for the next set of workshops. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Recording stop.
Keep pushing.
Oh, wow, I shut that down fast.
Just,
Sure did.
Hello, how'd it go?
just a sec, we gotta turn the broadcast off.
Oh.